What's up, everybody? Justin here, back with a new year in Wrestling Reloaded 1993, part one, or maybe there won't be a part two. I don't know. Hopefully, you enjoy it. I enjoyed talking about growing up, watching wrestling. I was around in 93. I was 9 years old. When 93 started, I was 9 years old. So I enjoyed talking about the past. I have great memories, great feelings, great memories of watching wrestling growing up as a kid. And I enjoyed talking about the past and wrestling history. So, year in wrestling, 1993, Reloaded. I'm going to talk a tiny bit about the pay per views WWF did and WCW did. I'm going to talk a lot and review and run down the cards and review the ECW super shows that happened in 93. There were three big super shows ECW put on in 93. Super, Summer Sizzler, and Ultra Clash 93, and November to Remember 93. Up first, let's talk about WCW did 6 pay-per-view events. That's pretty many for the time. 93, there weren't that many, but WCW did 6 pay-per-views. WWF did 5. I guess Vince and WWF felt like they had to compete with WCW and try to put on 6 pay-per-views, so they put on an extra one, a new one, the 5th pay-per-view, not just a Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, but WWF debuted the King of the Ring as a pay-per-view. And I was very happy about that. So again, WCW did 6, WWF did 5. WCW pay-per-views, I really enjoyed Super Brawl 3. You had the pay-per-view debut of the British Bulldog. You had Great Muta Barry Windham for the NWA title. Also, I remember a great match on Super Brawl 3. You had Two Cold Scorpio, Chris Benoit. That was a fucking great match on Super Brawl 3. To the next pay-per-view, Slamboree. A new WCW pay-per-view, Slamboree 93, a Legends Reunion. Slamboree 93, one of my favorite WCW pay-per-views. I did a top 10 a while ago. I did a top 10 favorite WCW's pay-per-views. And Slamboree 93 definitely was on my top 10. Maybe you'll enjoy this. Of course, all the pay-per-views are, we all know they're on the network now, but here's the original VHS poster box to Slamboree 93. Here it is. So there it is. Slamboree 93 box. There it is. There's the back. There's the back. So what I remember about this pay-per-view, it just was very memorable to me and very good. Maybe I think and feel that way because I was 9 years old when I saw it, and I just absolutely loved it. I don't know. Or maybe, excuse me, maybe because just I have such great nostalgia for Slamboree 93. That's why I think it's so great. I don't know. You had a cage match for the tag titles. That was good. You had, for some reason, it was supposed to be Sting and Scott Norton, but that didn't happen on the pay-per-view. Instead, it was Sting against fucking formerly Nails from WWF. Nails was in WCW for some reason. He showed up at Slamboree 93. The match was not good. I felt bad for Sting. And he couldn't be called Nails. First off, Nails is... The guy was fucking nuts. He was upset about not getting a push or about not getting paid what he was promised. I don't know. But I heard he's upset about not getting the push he thought he was promised. Or he was upset that he wasn't getting paid like he thought he should. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care. I never cared for Nails, the wrestler. The guy personally, I guess his name is Kevin Kelly, not the announcer, not the New Japan announcer, a different Kevin Kelly. But Nails was legit fucking nuts. Because the guy jumped across a table and started choking Vince McMahon, trying to kill him. What the fuck? Who does that? Who the fuck would do that to their boss? Only a crazy person. So he was brought in to Slamboree 93. It was Nails against Sting. But they couldn't call him Nails, so he was called the Prisoner. And for some reason, they had to say he was from Green Bay, Wisconsin, my home state. Why the fuck did they have to say he's from here? I really hope he's not from here because the guy's nuts. And I hope I don't run into him someday if he is from here. I'm sure on Nails now in 2020, the guy probably looks a mess. I don't know how old he is, but I don't know. Maybe 60s, but the guy's probably still nuts. And it's kind of funny, he played a Nails prison, that he escaped from prison type gimmick because the guy was legit nuts and probably should be locked up. Or should have been locked up before Vince signed him. I don't care if you were promised a push or a main event spot or more money. You don't attack Vince. That's fucking insane. So, what I really loved about Slamboree 93 was the main event. Vader defended the world title against Davey Boy Smith, and I loved the match. It was big man versus power. It was awesome. So now let's talk about Beach Blast. After Slamboree was Beached Blast 93. Okay, pay-per-view. You had Ric Flair won the NWA World title for his 10th reign as world champion. Ric Flair defeated Barry Windham, as I said, for the NWA title, which in 93 would become the International World title eventually. At the end of 93, I think they named it the International World title. So also at Beach Blast was a pretty good main event. Vader and Sid, the masters of the powerbomb, against Sting and Davey Boy Smith. I think they were called the Superpowers. It was a pretty damn good tag team main event. I enjoyed it. Definitely as a kid, I loved it. Next was Sting did a great spot. On Beach Blast, he ran from the ramp. He was running all the way into the ring, and he jumped over the top rope from the ramp and punched Vader in the head. That was an awesome spot for the time. Vader also did his moonsault, which was fucking awesome because the guy was like 450 pounds, and he was doing a moonsault. So up next was Halloween Havoc 93, another pretty good pay-per-view. It was better than Beach Blast. in my opinion. What I remember about Halloween Havoc in '93 at Sting, Sid, that was pretty good. I think it was short, but I always enjoyed when they had matches together. Cactus Jack Vader was fucking awesome. I thought it was a Texas death match. I think it was spin the wheel, make the deal. I think it was a Texas death match. It was pretty awesome. Vader bled. I believe Cactus might have bled. The match was just a brawl and pretty vicious. So up next was, excuse me for coughing. I don't, by the way, have the virus. I just have a little cold, like a sore throat. So, again, I feel fine. Don't worry. I feel fine. I just can't stop a cough. When a cough comes, you gotta cough. I can't hold it in. So, up next, their final pay-per-view was Starrcade 93. Here's a VHS original box to the event. Starrcade 93, there it is. It says Battle for the Belt. I believe it was Ric Flair's career on the line against Vader's world title. Also, you had, as it says on the back, Rick Rude for the international world title against Sting. That did not happen. I don't know why, but it was Rick Rude against the Big Boss Man who came to WCW, and they called him The Boss. Such a generic, stupid name. They called him The Boss. He was still in his police uniform, but he was the boss. And then he'd become the Guardian Angel. Then he'd become Big Bubba. Then he'd become Ray Trailer. The guy had a lot of gimmicks, a lot of different names. Rest in peace to the Big Boss Man. The guy was pretty fucking awesome. The guy was pretty damn good. So, yeah, Big Boss Man as the boss got a world title shot against Rick Rude. That was kind of weird. The matchup was like kind of weird, I thought. Their styles didn't really mix. And Sting was a tag team partner with Road Warrior Hawk for some reason. I guess him and Road Warrior Animal were not getting along at the time. So is Road Warrior Hawk and Sting getting a tag title shot against the Nasty Boys. And of course, the main event, Ric Flair, Vader, that was a fucking great world title match. And Starrcade 93, by the way, turned Starrcade 10 years old. So I enjoyed Starrcade 93. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. To me, it was not as good as Slamboree, but it was still good. So I'd say my favorite pay-per-views from WCW in 93, Super Brawl 3, Slamboree, Halloween Havoc, and Starrcade. Those are my favorites. So now let's talk about WWF pay-per-views. They had the Royal Rumble 93, which it was definitely not as good as 92, but it was still good. The Rumble match was pretty entertaining. You had Mr. Perfect, Ric Flair feuding at the time. Mr. Perfect eliminated Ric Flair. You had, for some reason, in the 93 Rumble, you had Max Moon in it. He was Conan playing Max Moon. You also had Carlos Colon in it for some reason. I guess they wanted international talent in the Rumble. Also, I think they had another guy in there. Another international talent in the 93 Rumble. I really can't remember. It might have been someone from All Japan. I forget the guy's name. Maybe that was a 91 Rumble. Whatever, I don't know. But then you also had Giant Gonzalez. Good Lord. Poor Giant Gonzalez. He was in the Rumble. He made his debut at the Royal Rumble. He laid out The Undertaker. And The Undertaker's laid out in the ring for like ever. It was pretty damn funny. He's laid out for like 10 whole minutes. He wouldn't even sit up. And Paul Bearer was taken out by Giant Gonzalez. And then the urn started like giving off green smoke or some type of smoke, I believe. It also gave off smoke out of the urn at the 94 Rumble, I think. Giant Gonzalez, I was 9 years old at the time, and when I saw him, I was like, holy fuck. Who is this guy? He's fucking giant. I knew he's in WCW before, but he just looked bigger and taller, and it was insane. My God. Again, it wasn't Giant Gonzalez's fault, but my fucking God, the guy could not wrestle or work. I will say, I don't know, him or Giant Khali, who's worse? I don't know, but they're probably both tied for some of the worst giants ever to be in wrestling. And I'm sure Great Khali's a nice guy when he's out of wrestling, but I heard Giant Gonzalez was a really nice guy, but they just couldn't wrestle. So Vince, you really wasted your money there paying Giant Gonzalez. The guy only wrestled twice, well, maybe 3 times. 3 to 4 times. I can only count 4 matches he ever had in WWF. He wrestled at WrestleMania 9, SummerSlam 93, and Monday Night Raw. In a Battle Royal, 15 or 12-man Battle Royal. Then he wrestled again, I think, on Raw in October in another Battle Royal, which the guy he was eliminated quick. So a good try, Vince, I guess, for signing a giant. You thought you could probably make him the next Andre the Giant, but it did not work. Rumble 93 also had the debut of Lex Luger as a narcissist gimmick. And my God, Bobby Heenan tried to sell the hell out of him, just talking him up, putting him over on the mic. As all he's doing is putting on a bodybuilding show. He kept flexing, and he's in front of mirrors, or mirrors were behind him. It was stupid. As a kid, I didn't watch wrestling ever to want to see a bodybuilding show of guys posing. That was stupid and boring to me. The narcissist gimmick, I mean, Lex did a good job in it, but I hated it. So let's go to WrestleMania. By the way, Yokozuna won the Rumble. That was great. That was awesome. It really pushed him and gave him a huge push going into WrestleMania. So now WrestleMania 9, which I also have the original box to it. Here it is. There it is, WrestleMania 9. Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. Happened on April 4th, 93. So I did not. A lot of people hate WrestleMania 9 and think it's the worst Mania of all time. They usually say WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 9 are the worst. I disagree. WrestleMania 9, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the Intercontinental title match. I enjoyed the 2 Doinks appearing. I enjoyed Hogan winning the title. Yes, I did. I was a kid. I didn't care. Brett was looked over for Hogan. I didn't care. I was happy Hogan won. I'll admit it. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was fucking happy and I was marking out. He won. So, you want to blame someone, don't say Hogan buried Brett. It was Vince's idea to put over Hogan, I'm sure, over Brett. So, anyways, and going back to Hogan winning the title and Brett not just losing it and Hogan staying out of the match. Brett did put over Yoko. Brett did the right thing for the business. But I don't know. There were then going back to SummerSlam or King of the Ring, SummerSlam '93. There were rumors if Lex Luger won the title off Yokozuna, the whole roster was gonna quit in protest or something because they thought Brett deserved it. I don't know if that's true. But obviously, Lex did not win the title ever, so maybe it was true. So, I don't know. Vince, obviously, the guy wanted to put the title on Lex Luger, but he never did. Probably because the boys said, no, don't do that, because we will quit or something in protest. I don't know. I feel bad for Lex Luger because the guy got the monster push. Body slammed Yokozuna July 4th, 93 on the Intrepid, on the USS Intrepid ship. It was a body slam challenge. And my God, when Lex Luger turned babyface and body slam Yokozuna, he was super fucking over. He was super over. He was even super over at SummerSlam 93 in the main event, but again, he never won the big one. And that's better off he did not win it because he wouldn't have been a good world champion. Yokozuna was a lot better and Brett was a lot better. Even Hogan in 93 was a better champion than Lex Luger could have ever been. And Hogan, again, I'm not upset. I don't care that he won the title at WrestleMania 9. I was happy about it. Look what he did at King of the Ring 93. He put over Yokozuna. He put him over. And he never put over hardly anybody before that except a Warrior. So I enjoyed WrestleMania 9. I will go to my grave saying I enjoyed the show. By the way, Bobby Heenan on commentary was fucking hilarious during WrestleMania 9. Listen to his commentary. That's worth... WrestleMania 9 is a good show because of Bobby Heenan on commentary. He made it even better. At one point when Bob Backlund came out, Bobby Heenan says, oh, here's the return of Opie. Oh my God. Bobby Heenan, fucking legend. So let's talk about King of the Ring 93. Was a new pay-per-view. I really enjoyed King of the Ring 93. Bret Hart won the tournament. It was awesome. Defeated Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect, and Bam Bam Bigelow. I don't really remember the finish of Bret, Mr. Perfect. I think it was like a 30-minute time limit draw or something, and then they went to overtime or something. And anyways, Bret won. Maybe Bret won by countout. I don't remember. But obviously, Bret won because he's in the finals. And after it, you have Jerry the King Lawler attack Bret. That was good because it got a lot of heat on Jerry Lawler. I don't like Jerry Lawler. I was never a fan of him, ever, as a wrestler. I don't think the guy was ever a main eventer. He'll never be in the same list as guys like Flair, Hogan, Sting, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Lawler. You will never, ever, to me, you will never be looked at as an all-time great. It's debatable if Jerry Lawler to me is even a legend. I don't know. Yes, he's been around forever. He's a fucking dinosaur. He's been around since like 1970 wrestling, but whatever. That's not for me to say if he's a legend or not. I was just never a fan of him. He was actually entertaining. On commentary, he was good from like 93 to 99. I'll say 93 to 2002, he was entertaining. Then he just got boring as hell. And what do you know? In 2020, Jerry the King Lawler is still on fucking Raw commentary doing jokes that are from like 95 or 99. Stop it and get him the fuck off commentary. I enjoy King of the Ring a lot. It was better than WrestleMania and the Rumble, in my opinion. SummerSlam 93 was good. You had a great tag title match. The Steiners, the Heavenly Bodies, that was really good. Lex Yoko was okay. It wasn't that bad. Who else? Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect was good, but I think the finish was stupid or it wasn't long enough. Bret Hart and Doink the Clown, that was really good. And then Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler was pretty damn good. Let's go to now Survivor Series 93. I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good Survivor Series. I enjoyed it. Now let's talk about WCW, one of the Clash, or maybe two of them, Clash of Champions events. Which in January 13th, 93, Clash of Champions 22 took place from my hometown, Milwaukee. I didn't know it was from my hometown at the time. If I knew, I would have fucking definitely tried to go as a kid. But a year later, in 94, I actually did get to go to my first WCW live event house show. But Clash of Champions was from my hometown in January of 93. The main event was pretty good. Thunder Cage match. You had Dustin Rhodes, Sting, and Cactus Jack defeat Vader, Barry Windham, and Paul Orndorff. All the other matches were not that good. Shane Douglas, Ricky Steamboat against the Hollywood Blondes for the NWA and WCW tag titles. That was pretty good. They always had good tag matches together. So now let's go to the end of the year. My first year in wrestling series of 93 shows, I reviewed, I believe, every single Clash of Champions. So I'm not going to do that again. I'll just talk about the final Clash of Champions, November 10th, 93. You had Rick Rude defend the International World title against Road Warrior Hawk. It was only 6 minutes, 24 seconds. What the fuck? For those two guys, Rick Rude, Road Warrior Hawk, should have been like at least 10 minutes. Rick Rude defeated Road Warrior Hawk in a double count out. So double count out. Good Lord. The Shockmaster. His debut was shockingly hilarious and shockingly bad. It killed him. His debut, the poor guy. I forget his real name, but formerly Tugboat. Here's a little tugboat, by the way, that I actually have. So speaking of Tugboat, he became the Shockmaster, and the guy had one of the worst debuts, one of the most... It wasn't his fault, but he had one of the worst debuts ever. Just made every fan laugh at him and look at him as a joke. So the Shockmaster, for somehow he's still around in November '93 as a Shockmaster. I don't know how, but he was. If you don't know how bad his debut went, look up the Shockmaster's debut, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It was so bad, and it was hilarious. Shockmaster defeated the Equalizer. That was not good. Lord Steven Regal for the TV title defeated Johnny B. Bad. That was 10 minutes. I'm sure it was good. Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, they broke up as the Hollywood Blondes in '93. Dusty, or somebody, I think Dusty Rhodes broke them up. Baby, that was a bad idea. You shouldn't have done that, American Dream. The Hollywood Blondes were great. Shouldn't have broke them up. So there's my Dusty Rhodes impression. Steve Austin and ECW ripped on Dusty and did a Dusty impression that they didn't want to push Steve Austin and thought he's a mid-carder and broke up the Hollywood Blondes. That was not a good idea. Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, they were real-life friends. And they were a great fucking tag team as the Hollywood Blondes. I don't know why the fuck you broke them up. Whoever broke them up, that was a bad idea. And my Dusty impersonation or impression, no disrespect at all to Dusty. I just had to do it. I don't know what he said. I don't even know if he broke up the Hollywood Blondes, but I know WCW management broke them up. I think it was Dusty. I don't know why and how he'd break up the Hollywood Blondes, but they did it. WCW somehow, they shot themselves in the foot and broke up an awesome heel tag team that he was getting over his heels. So you had Steve Austin with Colonel Robert Parker as his manager. That was a dumb idea to put Colonel Parker with Stunning Steve. So anyway, Steve Austin defeated Brian Pillman. 7 minutes, 44 seconds. He had Dustin Rhodes defeat Paul Orndorff in a U.S. title match. As Dustin Rhodes retained, you had the Nasty Boys for the tag team titles. The Nasty Boys defended, I think they had to be the champs. Nasty Boys defended against Sting and Davey Boy Smith and defeated them. I'm sure they cheated because Missy Hyatt was their manager. Ric Flair, the main event of Clash of the Champions 25. The main event was Ric Flair defeating Vader. Vader was the world champion, defeating Vader by disqualification. So that's Clash of the Champions from November the 10th. Also, what happened in November, WCW had another pay-per-view I did not mention called Battle Bold. I think it was a Dusty Rhodes idea. Battle Bold, the Lethal Lottery, pretty good idea. I enjoyed it. But the matches were not that good. It was a whole bunch of tag matches, a Battle Bold, Lethal Lottery, picking names, putting heels together with faces, and teaming them up. It was a pretty good idea. But the pay-per-view was kind of boring. It was not very good. Also at Battle Bowl 93, you had the debut, first ever WCW pay-per-view for Mean Gene Okerlund. That was pretty awesome to see Mean Gene. He jumped ship for a lighter schedule, a lot of money, and he was working like part-time, basically. Part-time or once a week on WCW Saturday night. So now let's talk about ECW Super Shows that happened in 93. Let's go to WWE Network. I actually have it opened on my computer, and The first show in '93 was well, let's see here. ECW Super Showdowns. I'm going through the list. In '93, they had the Super Summer Sizzler. '93, which the event's only an hour 25 minutes, happened on June 19th, '93, was a Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular from ECW. Then you had Ultra Clash. Then you had, I don't know why it's not on the network. I don't think it exists. The entire event, the November to Remember '93 is not on the WWE network. Why? I don't know. I wish it was, but it's not. If you watch ECW TV from the end of '93, I think they show a few matches maybe from the November to Remember '93. The show was not that good. I'll say that. The lighting and production was not good. Let's talk about the Super Summer Sizzler. Hard, not easy for me to say. Again, it took place June 19th, '93 from the ECW Arena. So it was also the first event that was released on video by ECW. It was the first ever ECW event that was released on video. So that's why it's on the network, obviously. So you had up first, I believe, is good lord, is only a minute 30. Somebody, I don't know who that is, versus Don E. Allen to a no contest. Don't know who those guys are, really. For the ECW TV title, Jimmy Snuka defeated JT Smith. Up next, we had Tony Stefan, or whatever the hell his name is, defeated Larry Winters in a first blood match by referee stoppage. I don't remember that. Maybe I'll have to watch it on the network. All I remember is they had like a battle royal. That was like a whole bunch of weapons. And I think one of the ropes broke or something. Up next, you had Miss Peaches. Miss Peaches became the Sandman's real life wife. I believe she was his wife in real life. At the time when she was Miss Peaches, I believe she was dating or married to the Sandman. She actually had the Sandman's kids, I believe. I don't think she had all his kids, but some of his first children. So Miss Peaches defeated Terrible Tigra in a cat fight. I'm not joking, this is the name of the match. It only went 3 minutes. In a cat fight humiliation match. Weird. Thank God women's wrestling is changed for the better. So we had up next Jimmy Snuka in another match for the TV title. Jimmy Snuka with Paul Heyman. Paulie dangerously defeated Tommy Cairo. I don't know why he defended the TV title twice, but he did. Up next, we had a Philadelphia street fight. Rockin' Rebel defeated the Sandman. Up next, we had Dick Murdoch defeated the Dark Patriot with Paul Heyman. Paulie dangerously. You had a 6-man tag team matchup. Sal Balomo, Stevie Wonderful, Super Destroyer 2 defeated the Suicide Blondes. Johnny Hotbody, Sir Richard Michaels, and Hunter Q. Robbins III. The 6-man tag. You had up next, a final match. You had Eddie Gilbert with Paul E. Dangerously. Eddie Gilbert defeated Terry Funk in a Texas chain match. Texas chain match massacre for the title of King of Philadelphia. So, going into after this summer, what the hell is it called? Super Summer Sizzler. After it, Eddie Gilbert would no longer be the booker of ECW. Paul Heyman would become the booker. Todd Gordon let him do what he wanted to do and gave him to be the head booker of ECW. I believe Eddie Gilbert and Todd Gordon, or Eddie Gilbert and Paul Heyman, were not getting along, and Todd Gilbert decided to get rid of Eddie Gilbert for Paul Heyman, basically. And ECW would really start doing great, innovative, awesome television with Paul Heyman as the booker. That's just my opinion. ECW was a lot better off with Paul Heyman than if Eddie Gilbert stayed. Eddie Gilbert would have just turned it into a Memphis blood and guts brawling, probably blood and guts Memphis wrestling promotion in Philly. It wouldn't have worked. ECW absolutely thrived under Paul Heyman until, of course, they had to go under and go bankrupt. So, Ultra Clash 93, I'm going to review it now. Ultra Clash was the first ever ECW event Paul Heyman was a booker for. And it was pretty damn good. It's on the network, but I also own Ultra Clash on DVD. So up first, we had the Public Enemy defeated Ian Rotten and Jason Knight. Again, Paul Heyman was a booker in control, and he would really push the Public Enemy big time. They were one of the top tag teams ECW had in the early days. In 93, 94, 95, Public Enemy they were the fucking tag team to watch in ECW in the early days. Up next, we had Tony Stefan again, with Hunter Q. Robbins, a third defeat Tommy Cairo in an ECW Pennsylvania Championship matchup. Whatever the hell that title was. Super Destroyer number 1 defeated Super Destroyer number 2 in a mask versus mask matchup. It was weird. It's basically two big guys under a mask beating the hell out of each other. The Dark Patriot defeated JT Smith in a scaffold match. This was pretty awesome because the iconic fall that JT Smith took off the scaffold. The guy just fell off the scaffold right onto his hip. Just right down onto his side. And for a couple years, for the ECW TV video opening package, they used to use JT Smith falling off the scaffold. The footage of it. Pretty awesome. So, up next, you had a bunkhouse match. Legends in it. Terry Funk and Stan Hansen defeated Kevin Sullivan and Abdullah the Butcher by disqualification. Up next, you had a women's battle royal, I guess a mixed battle royal of guys and women. So, intergender battle royal, Tigra defeated Angel, Donnie Allen, Hunter Q. Robbins III, Jay Scully, and Sensational Sherry in a battle royal. Or whatever her name was. Tigra, whatever. She wasn't around for very long in ECW. She was only around in 93. Salvatore Bellomo with Sensational Sherry defeated Sir Richard Michaels with Hunter Q. Robbins III in a strap match. For the ECW World Championship, Shane Douglas defeated the Sandman. And the final match was basically a fucking bloodbath and a brawl and a war. It was a baseball bat matchup. They put a baseball bat in the middle of the ring, basically. I think it was in the middle of the ring, and the teams would start on the outside beating the crap out of each other. They already were bleeding. And whoever got to the baseball bat first could then use it on their opponent. Pretty cool gimmick match, I thought, for the time. Again, what ECW, what Paul Heyman was giving us in 93 when he took over, the fans were not getting blood and guts and violence and brawls. They weren't getting it in WCW or WWF. ECW was different. It was great. I was a huge fan of ECW, especially when I started being aware of the pay-per-views were on my cable system. I ordered every damn pay-per-view in 99 and 2000. So the Headhunters in a baseball bat matchup. The Headhunters, they were a tag team, two really fat guys, but they were good athletes. They could do moonsaults. The Headhunters, I believe, came from FMW in Japan, or IWA in Japan, or Puerto Rico, one of those promotions. I know the Headhunters worked in FMW for a little bit. So the Headhunters, again, they weren't around for long in ECW. For some reason, they were actually, one of them, or both of them, were in the 96 Rumble. The Headhunters defeated Manuel Perez and Crash the Terminator. Manuel Perez would become one of Los Boricuas in WWF, and Crash the Terminator was Hugh Morris. So that's Ultra Clash. None of them would even go 8 minutes. So now let's review November to Remember 93. I think it's a dark match. It must have been, I don't know, Salvatore Bellomo, who the guy was in the WWF as a jobber in the 80s, but then he showed up in ECW in 92, 93. Salvatore, and he was called, I believe, Wild Man, Salvatore Bellomo, because he looked a lot different and he grew his hair out. Salvatore Bellomo defeated Rockin' Rebel by forfeit in a chairs match. Sounded not good. I think it was a dark match. The Sandman took on Jim the Anvil Neidhart in a no contest. The Public Enemy took on Bad Company, Pat Tanaka, and Paul Diamond. They were originally in the AWA. That was a South Philly Hood match, whatever the hell that meant. I guess whoever won owned the hood of Philly. Who knows? Anyways, Public Enemy won, as they should have, because they were being pushed as the top babyface team in ECW. But I think they were heels at the time. Public Enemy did not turn face until like 95, I think, or end of 94. Public Enemy in 94, 95, they had some really entertaining promos on ECW TV. Up next, we had Kevin Sullivan defeat Tommy Cairo in 2 minutes. That was not good. In a women's match, you had, she worked for WCW, Shimmer, I can't really pronounce her name, Malika Hasaka. She defeated Sherry Martel by disqualification. The Suicide Blondes, Johnny Hotbody and Tony, whatever the hell his name is, Tony Stefan or Stevenson, whatever the hell, I don't know what his name is, I don't care. The Suicide Blondes defeated the Bad Breed, Axel Rotten and Ian Rotten, and it was for the ECW tag titles, so they retained. And we got another ECW tag title match. I don't know why, but Johnny Gunn and Tommy Dreamer defeated the Suicide Blondes to win the titles. Fun fact, Tommy Dreamer held his first ECW title in 93. Then he would go on from 93 and not hold another title until 1999 when he would win the tag titles with Raven. And Tommy Dreamer said many times he never wanted to be a champion in ECW. He wanted to go his whole ECW career never becoming a champion. But Paul Heyman did not allow it. So I'm next at Johnny Gunn. They're ready. Again, Johnny Gunn, Tommy Dreamer win the tag titles. Then Tommy Dreamer's in another match. Probably was taped for TV. The Tasmaniac, who would become Taz, the human suplex machine, the Tasmaniac, defeated Tommy Dreamer. Mr. Hughes, yes, for that Mr. Hughes, I was in WCW, the only man that wrestled with sunglasses on. That was pretty hilarious. Mr. Hughes defeated Johnny Gunn. And the main event was Sabu for the ECW winner takes all match for the ECW World title and the ECW TV title. Sabu was the champion. That he defeated Road Warrior Hawk, and he defeated Terry Funk, Terry Funk was the World TV champion, I guess. So Sabu defeated Road Warrior Hawk, Terry Funk, and King Kong Bundy. And I guess the first ever four-way match, fatal four-way, I guess. It sounds like a fatal four-way. Anyways, this ends my year in wrestling, 1993, Reloaded. Year in wrestling, 1993, Reloaded. Hope you enjoyed it. Talked about my favorite WWF, WCW pay-per-views, and I reviewed the ECW 1993 first super shows events they put on a video ever. I reviewed those. Hope you enjoyed. I also reviewed Clash of the Champions a little bit. Hope you enjoyed Year in Wrestling Reloaded 93. Bye for now, everybody.